speaking, how do you identify yourself? Conservative, liberal, libertarian? The conservatives supposedly believe in fiscal responsibility, small government and small changes. The liberals like big changes, especially as it applies to social issues, which tends to make them big spenders. The libertarians would abolish almost every aspect of government except the bare minimum, like a military to defend the nation, but they wouldn't require much else from the government. But which is best for our country and our kids? Of course, your political leanings is the best choice in your mind for you and your children, but is it? The conservatives and liberals, aka the Republican and Democrat Party, seem to oppose each other except in one very important area. They are both big spenders. The libertarians have little to no influence in political matters, so yeah. Politically speaking, our children are doomed, and most parents are completely unaware of this fact. And yes, it is a fact. You see, one area that most affects our lives and will continue to affect the lives of our children is a dirty, open secret called deficit spending. Or in other words, spending money you don't have to pay for things you can't afford, and generally speaking, does you and your family no good at all. Deficit spending is debt, and debt is death, because at more than $31 trillion, the sponsors of the federal government, aka you and me and our children, will never be able to pay this debt back, and our creditors are ready to margin call us to death. That brings us back to politics, and which group of thieves is better? And the answer is neither, since they both make decisions that will bring most of us to financial ruin and economic slavery in the not so distant future. You don't believe that? Check this out. Every few years a discussion comes up centered around this mythical thing called the debt ceiling. The debt ceiling is an artificial cap on how much debt the federal government can generate. Every debt ceiling quote-unquote battle ends with the ceiling being raised, allowing the thieves in office and at the Federal Reserve to steal from us with impunity right under our noses. And it has never mattered which party was in power. So we can argue amongst ourselves about social issues that generally resolve themselves when we see the foolishness of our ways. They simply serve as distractions put upon us by power brokers to keep us from seeing how horrible most of our lives is about to become. And none of us will be arguing about the number of genders that exist, or whether Black Lives Matter, or the latest First Amendment rights violation committed by social media companies on behalf of a corrupt government, because we will be too busy trying to eat and keep our families safe and alive. I know you must think this is too over the top, and will want to dismiss what I'm saying as pure hyperbole, and that's fine. You're welcome to do so, but I believe the near future will prove me out. So ignore these words at you and your family's own peril. The debt ceiling is about to be raised once again, while inflation and the cost of everything you buy almost daily continues to go up. The Saudis are about to start accepting payments for oil in currencies other than the US dollar, while Russia, China, and Venezuela will sell their oil in either their own currencies or gold. What does that mean for your family here in the US? It means higher inflation, a collapsing dollar, and an economy that will grind to a slow crawl when banks begin to fail and your deposits are confiscated under the sneaky auspices of what they call bail-in laws, which says very openly that once you deposit money in the bank, they own it, and you are merely just a beneficial owner. You have access to your money while times are good, but as soon as things turn bad, the bank shut down and you have no access. And it's legal. And the unprepared will wonder what just happened. The talking heads on TV will act as if this thing came out of nowhere, and the politicians, both Republican and Democrat, will offer a ready-made solution to help you overcome the misery that has become your life. But you better believe it won't be for you and your family's benefit. So what to do? You can start with putting your depreciating, inflation-riddled assets, aka cash, into tangible assets like gold and silver. Unlike dollars and other currencies created out of thin air, gold and silver become more and more valuable and sought after as economies and currencies fail. We as a nation are not taught this fact, and it helps us fall victim to what is called normalcy bias. Normalcy bias, simply put, is a tendency to ignore a potential threat with disbelief that it could ever happen, no matter the evidence to the contrary that's placed in front of you. The evidence shows that the US dollar is under open attack, which will cause it to depreciate even further, creating higher inflation, while the price of everyday items continue to rise to a point that most people will not be able to overcome it. And there isn't one politician that calls themselves a Republican or a Democrat that is saying anything about it. Can you see the futility in arguing politics now? A significant hedge against this coming calamity is gold and silver. Of course, you would need other things that are often overlooked, like a strong sense of community, the ability to get or grow food, access to water, and security. But this broadcast is primarily focused on the futility of politics and the need to protect your family's economic power during dark economic times. The powers that be know what's coming. All you have to do is look at the World Gold Council's website to see central banks across the world have been buying gold by the ton in record amounts in the past few months. If you think they are smart, you should do what they are doing. And as a point of clarity, let me say that you need to be able to hold your gold and silver in your hand. If you can't hold it, you don't own it. Paper claims on gold and silver like ETFs or certificates of ownership is not ownership once the poo hits the rotating oscillator. Possession is and will continue to be 9/10 of the law. And you better believe no one will ship you your gold or silver when you most need it, because they, whoever they are, will keep and use it for themselves. Word to the wise, protect your family now. Family on trial.